Welcome everybody to Chapter 11. So Chapter 11 has two parts, monopolistic competition and oligopoly. So off to the agenda for this chapter. So the first section deals with monopolistic competition. So we look at these distinguishing characteristics of monopolistic competition. Secondly, we look at the optimal level of output for a monopolistically competitive firm, and then we look at the long-run equilibrium state in monopolistic competition. And then the second half deals with oligopoly. So we look at the distinguishing features of oligopoly, types of pricing behavior practiced by oligopolists, types of non-price competition practiced by oligopolists, and then finally a social evaluation of oligopoly. Okay, something actually looks a bit different on the screen here. Anyways, don't know why. Okay, so monopolistic competition is an industry with a relatively large number of players that offer similar but so-called differentiated products. So similar but different, slightly different products. And we have three distinguishing characteristics of monopolistic competition. One is the large number of firms. And so it has more firms than monopoly, because monopoly only has one firm, but it has fewer firms than perfect competition. And there is no absolute number on these number of firms. It's all kind of a relative thing. Okay, and we have some assumptions about monopolistic competition. One is that each of the firms are too small, are very small, and they're small because there are many players in the industry. And we also assume that there's no price nor output collusion amongst the members. So there are so many members in the industry that it's not worth their while to try to collude with their competitors on setting price or output. And then the third assumption about monopolistic competition is that each firm makes its own decisions independently. Again, it's because there are too many firms to deal with. They can't collude. And so each firm does not take competitor reactions into account when it makes its own decisions. Okay, and the second distinguishing characteristic of monopolistic competition is that there's ease of entry into the industry or ease of exit from the industry. So there are no significant barriers to entry, so there's no significant increasing economies of scale, patents, high capital costs, and the like. Okay, and the third distinguishing characteristic of monopolistic competition is so-called product differentiation. So it's how each firm distinguishes its products from those of competitors in the minds of the buyers. And monopolistic competitive firms distinguish their products on the basis of product features, or maybe it's the services associated with their product, maybe it's their location, maybe it's their advertising, maybe it's their advertising or promotion. So this product differentiation gives each firm some pricing power, and that's different than the firms in perfect competition. In perfect competition, the price was effectively given to each firm, which means the price was set by factors outside the control of the firm, whereas in monopolistic competition, the demand curve faced by the firm slopes downwards to the right. And the degree of price elasticity of demand of this curve depends on how well the firm is able to distinguish its products in the eyes of buyers. So if we have, if the firm is successful in distinguishing its product in the eyes of consumers, then the demand curve will be relatively inelastic. And if the firm is not particularly successful in distinguishing its products in the eyes of consumers, then the demand curve will be relatively elastic. Okay, let's just okay, so what is the profit maximizing level of output for the firm in monopolistic competition? So the demand curve facing each firm in monopolistic competition slopes downwards to the right. So the supply and demand diagram for the monopolistic firm, for the monopolistic competitive firm, resembles that in monopoly. So the profit maximizing quantity is going to be at the point of intersection where the marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So same thing that we saw in monopoly, marginal revenue, marginal cost. Here's our profit maximizing quantity. And the optimal price, I'm just going to change colors here, the optimal price is the price on the demand curve corresponding to this level of quantity. So first we establish the quantity, and then we establish the equilibrium price. So just as in monopoly, monopolistic competitive firms are capable of earning an economic profit. So if the price is greater than average total cost, here's our average total cost curve right here, the black line. Here's our price on the demand curve right here. So we can see this difference between price and average total cost is positive, and so monopolistic firms can earn economic profits. But what happens is, just as in perfect competition, if there are short-term economic profits, then that attracts additional competitors into the industry, because again, in monopolistic competition, just as in perfect competition, there is ease of entry into and out of the industry. So if there are economic profits being earned, then more firms join the industry, and that pushes the demand curve for each firm to the left. So if this is our first situation, sort of shown on this diagram, and each firm is earning some economic profits, then more and more companies will join the industry, and then the demand curve for each firm will shift to the left, and the new marginal revenue curve for each firm, marginal revenue, and so here's our equilibrium quantity 2, and then we have price exactly equaling average total cost, and those economic profits are competed away. Okay, and then the same sort of reaction in the industry occurs if the industry suffers economic losses. Okay, so here's an example of economic losses. Let's go for orange. So here our optimal level of output is at the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So here's our marginal revenue, here's marginal cost, so here's our equilibrium quantity, and here's our equilibrium price. So first we establish our quantity, then we establish our price, and lo and behold, price is less than average total cost. So if price is less than the average total cost, we have economic losses. So what happens? Firms will exit the industry, and as firms exit the industry, the demand curve for each firm will shift to the right. It's kind of hard for me to draw here. And then we'll have, so this is the new demand curve, and then we'll have a new marginal revenue curve somewhere in there, So the new equilibrium quantity is going to be QE2, read up to the demand curve, the price. So price is going to rise. And at this new point, price exactly equals average total cost, and the economic losses disappear. Okay. Oops. Okay, so all right. So in the long run, if there are any economic profits or losses in the short run, in the long run, those economic profits disappear because of the ease with which firms can enter and exit the industry. So in the long run, economic profits equals zero. The same way that happens in the perfect competition. In perfect competition, economic profits are zero as well in the long run. Okay, so we're going to see the same thing again on this next little diagram. Okay, so in the long run, oops, I should go to blue. In the long run, in perfect competition, economic profits are zero, and in the long run, in monopolistic competition, economic profits are also zero. But in monopoly, in the long run, there are economic profits, and there are profits in the long run in monopoly because price is greater than average total cost. That's our definition of economic profits. So in perfect competition, price equals average total cost at the minimum average total cost. And so perfect competition is productively efficient. And in monopolistic competition, in the long run, price equals average total cost, but it's not at the minimum average total cost point, and therefore monopolistic competition is not productively efficient. And likewise, monopoly is also not productively efficient because in monopoly, price is greater than average total cost, and so it's not productively efficient. Okay, so the final diagram kind of illustrates the same point on the in diagram form. So in long run, in perfect competition, price equals average total cost at the minimum average total cost. So here's our average total cost curve. Here's our marginal revenue curve, which is otherwise known as the demand curve. Optimal level of output is where the marginal revenue equals marginal cost. There's our optimal quantity. Read the price off of the demand curve, and the price intersects average total cost at the minimum average total cost point. So economic profits are zero in perfect competition in the long run. And in monopolistic competition, in the long run, there are no economic profits because price equals average total cost, but average total cost is not at its minimum point. And so we have excess capacity in the industry. And so monopolistic competition is not productively efficient the way perfect competition is. And so this excess capacity is a consequence of the ease of entry and exit from the industry. Okay, so that's it for monopolistic competition. I'm going to do a separate video for oligopoly.